If you run away, I will find you.
Stop! When searching for the main character, I needed this feeling that even if I don't agree with his, let's say, decisions or his action, for me it is still interesting to follow him. The second aspect also was that it was really important for me that his first language is Russian, as the main character in the film is a Russian minority who lives in Latvia. We did a huge casting session. We had like casting in Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, and also in the Baltic states. When I received the scenes that Valentin had filmed, he sent me a YouTube link of 2 scenes which I sent him to do, the casting agent sent him to do. Then he got my attention, because when I was looking at this video, there was something for me more than just the words that he was saying. There was something behind that face that for me it was interesting to look at, and then I invited him to come to Riga to do some to meet him as a person, and I felt that he has this fragileness inside him, which is really suits well also for the Oleg's character, and basically because he's also a very good actor. The rest of Europe has little or absolutely no knowledge about this, what we have, like, let's say, in the Baltics. Especially in Latvia and Estonia, there is like this group of non-citizens. And to understand this is that, to tell it simply, is like during the Soviet occupation, a lot of workers were brought in from the Soviet Union into the countries to build these big factories, to kind of to fuel the Soviet industrialization. When the Soviet Union collapsed, these people didn't leave, they stayed in the country. But they were basically, they didn't know the language, they were foreigners in the country, but they stayed. The saddest part is that still today, this problem hasn't been solved. In the beginning of the 90s, there was a big, let's say, nationalistic backlash. Of course, Latvia had been occupied by the Soviets for 50 years, so when it regained the independence, then it was important for Latvians, to start to build again their community, to start to emphasize their culture, their language, because it's a small country, small population, and if you have like big, let's say, foreign minority, then it's not the easiest way to kind of put back together. And so in the beginning of the 90s, there was a, let's say, idea that we can just ignore these people, that they will somehow fade away or disappear, or somehow by chance nationalize and become citizens and learn the language and become patriots. Of course, it didn't happen. The minority functions in its own bubble, let's say. I mean, in everyday life, I don't see a problem, with kind of, there's no kind of social conflict or social clash, because more or less we come from the same part of the world. It's also kind of religion is not different. It coexists quite okay. But the problem is that politically, this situation is manipulated a lot. First of all, it's manipulated by Putin's Russia, because they easily they can say, we are protecting these people who consider themselves Russia. And then we saw what happened in Crimea, we saw what happened in Georgia. These situations can go into military conflicts. So always for Latvia it has been a tricky subject. The situation has gone so far that there is no quick fix, and with this film I am not offering an answer. I mean, there is no answer in the film for it, and there is no answer for me. I don't have an answer for it, but but for me, it's important that there is a discussion about this, because many times this discussion is somehow put away. I think it's a real problem, and I think it's a problem that can become a bigger problem in the future if it's not solved somehow. And the examples that I mentioned already with the Putin's aggression. This is my second film together with Bogomil Godfreyev. There's several elements that you have to understand how I shoot films. First of all, when I shoot a scene, I shoot every scene in one take. There is no shot reverse. I don't kind of, let's say, cut into the scene. I let to move it throughout the camera throughout the scene in one take, and each take is different. There is no repetition, let's say, in takes, because we're always asking, you know, how can we make this better? What can we change? Because also the organics of the scene are changing, developing also. I mean, for me, the set is like an organic place. You know, we don't rehearse. We shoot everything from the first thing. For me, it's always important that my camera is mobile, that is very, it can react to situations because the scenes are changing, and sometimes the DOP doesn't know how it will change, because I tell my actor something just before the take. I say, you know, I get this idea, so I just whisper him in the ear, do this for that. And so Bogomil is kind of very intuitive. There is freedom on the set, freedom for actors, freedom for me, that I can say something and we just change it, and then he understands that maybe, you know, he can go in that corner, which is maybe, if it's not going to be lit, then we're still going to do it. So, you know, he has to be ready that, you know, things are prepared. He's like a co-author to me, because he's also, you know, bringing in ideas, and we talk about the subjects, you know. It's not just about the image, it's about, you know, the story, the character. I told Bogomil that for me, the beginning point is Oleg's face. You know, the passport's photo of Oleg, and they are square, and when I go on a close-up on Oleg, I don't want to see any kind of sides. I just want the screen filled with his face. So that was our kind of beginning point. And also developing it further, we decided that we're going to shoot this film only with one lens. It was an 18mm. Bogomil restored this one old 60s Cook lens, and which has kind of this vignette look, a bit softish, you know, so to bring kind of an extra element in the kind of the visual language. This 18mm lens also helped to kind of define that, you know, it's kind of this prison for the main character, you know, this square, it's kind of wide also, you know, when you go on a close-up and then how everything is moving, then it's also symbolizes what is happening in the story, that this guy is in a way in a prison, you know, sometimes psychological prison, sometimes actually real kind of physical prison, but also that kind of the composition was talking about. Bogomil found a special way how to have a very compact camera. He basically used Alexa Mini just with this lens, and these technicians built him a special belt where everything else was put on, like batteries and everything. So he just had like camera and lens on him. So it was very mobile. He could go like in corner and just, you know, shoot like with not as small as GoPro, but nearly, you know. I mean, we know how big Alexa is Mini, and we know how big 18mm lens is. So you can imagine that it wasn't bigger than a square. And it was also light, you know, so it was very portable. Everything what you see under the water, it was filmed in a swimming pool, and then there was like under the water there was put black cloth with dots, so later CGI could work with the material. But of course everything that was above water, that was filmed in the winter of Latvia in January, when everything is cold, when it's -20. And also when Valentin comes out, at the end of the film, comes out from the water, he is actually coming out from real cold water, which was, this hole was dug in this lake, and then he put in these steps, and then he went in there and did that. So it's basically a combination of actual, but under the water, more or less, that not more or less, but there was swimming pool and plus CGI.